Colder pockets, colder not you, colder.
The Public Affairs Department of WCCO Television News presents Handshoe Hollow, the story of the Minnesota Teen Corps in Appalachia. The Helping Hand Twin City Federal dedicates this film to the Teen Corps and salutes it for a job well done. Appalachia, the forgotten backcountry of America, an area not many tourists see. But a young man from Bloomington, Minnesota, Bob Benedict, found it a place for high school students to put idealism to work. He founded the Teen Corps and brought it to Knott County, Kentucky, and the center of this story, Handshoe Hollow. This is what Appalachia is like today, one of the poorest areas of the country, and one of the most forgotten. Appalachia, the land of lush green valleys and rolling hills, whose slopes echo the romantic history of Daniel Boone, the Hatfields and McCoys. Down in the hollows, the hard clay roads, crisscrossed by creeks every few miles, remain the same as they were 30 years ago. With luck, a road grader will come through every few years before election time. In the winter, many children can't travel to school, and people can't get out for medical care. Few take the trouble anymore to go back into the hollows to find out what a place like Handshoe is like. There, the proud people of English-Scot backgrounds who shun charity live in the same houses as their grandfathers, still without running water or indoor plumbing. They make ends meet with subsistence farming. Today, most are on pensions, Social Security, or welfare. They don't understand why there are no jobs, why the medical services are poor, why the education is backward. Those who haven't fled north stay on, but with little hope. 125 Minnesota teenagers spent 6 weeks in Appalachia this summer to try to change that. Through Minnesota high schools, students raised $17,000 for this project, but most of that goes for supplies for buildings and roads. The volunteers use barely enough to feed themselves. The housing is borrowed, like this abode, affectionately dubbed the Handshoe Hilton. It housed 35. The amateur home-cooked food wasn't the best. The difference in food and climate combined gave some of them dysentery for most of the 6 weeks. The hardships are only things to write home about. The cheerful group marches off for work each morning like the 7 dwarfs. In Handshoe Hollow, only one of 4 places the Teen Corps was in this summer, the group worked primarily on a community center and laid a church floor. In other communities, Rock Fork, Pine Top, and Decoy, the students laid another church floor, held a day care classes, started another community center, and began fixing a road. The work is divided evenly, but after a few days on the picks and shovels, the girls seemed more adapted to household chores, such as doing the giant-sized wash. The 50 by 25-foot community center, paid for by the Teen Corps, will house looms for weaving, space for quilt making, 2 of the few income-producing skills the community women possess.
We get another batch here. Mongooses retaliate! More of you, Fred. Back up a little bit. Good batch. Hey, is it my turn to stir?
The main purpose of the center is to hold community meetings. The Teen Corps wants to unite the people in each hollow, and if possible, the people from several communities. Together, they can demand better roads and schools. Separated, they are just a small force. These people are strong individuals, and it's difficult for them to work together. They have little hope that anything will succeed, and it hasn't in the past. Bob Benedict, the young man who founded the Teen Corps, talked of the one basic thing this area needs.
What we hope to accomplish, I think in one word would be hope. That this time they weren't going to be let down. That we weren't going to come one time and then stop. The fact that they themselves, after we left, could continue and do it themselves as a community if they worked together was what we were trying to create.
One of the biggest obstacles in the project is gaining the trust of the mountain folk. They are traditionally wary of strangers. Slowly, the reserve breaks down. Virgil Smith and his wife carried sand up from the creek bottoms for the cement. George White, one of the volunteers from Edina High School, was asked why Minnesota students had to build this community center, why the people couldn't do it themselves.
The community down here doesn't have the money to be able to build a building like this. The money that they have, they spend on things that are drastically needed. They don't have the funds to build a building like this. They also don't have the community spirit to start a building like this. And by building this building, one thing that we're trying to do is bring the people around here closer together.
Rock Fork already has a small community building, but the people raised $400 to start a larger 82 by 52-foot center. The Teen Corps paid the balance. Mark Chaffins, chairman of the community center, talked about the difficulties for a new group coming in. It takes a while for the mountain folk to accept the Teen Corps.
This thing comes slow, you know, in the mountains here. When people don't understand something, they don't go for it very much because they're always looking for the hidden gimmick. They've been promised.
There it is, Dad.
And if you offer them something, they've never gotten it before, and they say, well, it's the same old thing. Now, somewhere, there's the gimmick. And they just don't fool with it.
The Teen Corps found a home in all the communities they visited. Vista and the Appalachian volunteers were removed from this area at the people's request. But the mountain folk looked differently on the Teen Corps.
One of the reasons that they are is because Bobby, Mr. Benedict, did promise that these kids would be clean cut, they would be screened. We could depend on their character to meet his approval, you know, somewhat. And I found that he told us the truth about it. They were good kids. Every one of them. That's the way the parents here are finding them. In other words, we are taking them into their homes and giving them country grub now. They can eat with us, and they like that, you know. And that's good relations. It pleases them. They very, very happy to do it.
A mobile dental unit will carry on after the Teen Corps has returned to Minnesota. The Teen Corps-sponsored unit will travel from community to community with a dentist. During the summer, the girls visited schools to teach the rudiments of dental care.
Like that, sure. Okay. Because you know that you want to get at that dirt. Okay, you know what?
With no dentist available, many of the children of 4 and 5 chaw on chewing tobacco to delay decay.
Okay.
Pine Top also has a small community center to administer federal anti-poverty programs. But the local people raised the money to buy an old church and transport it to this site for a gymnasium. The community leaders are aware of the problems facing their community, but they don't often talk of the solutions.
Lives have got to leave. The people don't really want to leave.
No, they leave because they have to.
You say the families always leave some here as a general rule so the others can come back. It is said that once you had a drink of this French water here in eastern Kentucky, you always come back for more water. I'll have to try some of that. Well, if you watch them and notice them, I have for years, they always come back if they've got any opportunity at all, don't they, Carl? They're always homesick. They want to come back.
3/4 of our working force in here is unemployed.
If they was to pull these federal programs out right now, why, there would be nothing. People they'd actually be starving.
About 50% of our school children right now going to school is under these federal programs. And with that, well, he's a school teacher there, Mr. Banks, and he can tell you the number increased after.
Oh, yes. Attendance really pick up.
By federal programs, do you mean the parents are on federal programs?
No, they've set these programs up for these youngsters to work. To work? To work. They pay them, you know, the minimum wage, and they work so many hours a week.
We also have
and that part, of course, helps support the whole family.
There's one that they must attend school, you see, to stay on, so they go to school. And so without these programs, I doubt we could operate many of our schools.
With only 9 Teen Corps volunteers, the Pine Top group painted the school and built a playing field. On Saturdays, they take time out to learn songs that tell of the old days of the coal mining mountaineer.
Alan, come on, that's our favorite one.
There's coal dust in my pocket, coal dust in my shoes, coal dust in my bloodstream. I've got the coal dust blues. Now my daddy, he was a miner until his dying breath. But I made Mama promise on her dying bed. Now son, don't be a miner. Spend your life out in the sun. Don't let your life be measured by the car or by the ton. This promise to Mama I couldn't keep. There's coal dust in my soul. And that's why I often wondered if there's a heaven for a miner's soul. There's coal dust in my pocket, coal dust in my shoes, coal dust in my bloodstream. I've got the coal dust blues.
Handshoe Hollow will return in 1 minute.
Sunday is everyone's day off. The Teen Corps, supported by local friends, come to Rock Fork to defend their community's honor. Each week, volleyball and basketball championships are on the line. Handshoe was victorious in this Sunday's confrontation. Sports is only one activity. The students compare notes on progress, how far each building has gone up, and how long the road has grown. The road from Decoy to Handshoe, which children travel to school, is 16 miles of ruts and rocks. For 2 weeks, the Teen Corps labored with mattocks and sledgehammers, laying culverts and digging drainage ditches. The students proved a thorn in the side of the county highway department, and finally, heavy equipment was sent in to help. The laborers are on the Nelson program, a federal plan which pays the men the minimum wage of $1.60 an hour to work on approved community projects such as this one. For them, it's a substitute for welfare or the necessity of going north to find work. For their children, it means an education. The men must keep their children in school in order to stay on the program. Progress continued on the road in Decoy after the Teen Corps left. But Decoy is a story of some of the difficulties outside groups find in Appalachia. This community center was the idea of one man, Lionel Duff, the local school teacher for 25 years. It is probably one of the most elaborate buildings in Appalachia, in a hollow with only 30 families. The Teen Corps built the foundation last year, and the Nelson men have taken it this far with the help of another $4,000 from the Teen Corps. After 4 weeks, Bob Benedict questioned Lionel Duff about whether the community could use it. Duff said no one would tell him how the center would be used, and he told the Teen Corps to leave. They did, and found lodging with the rest of the community. The people have always been suspicious of Duff's enterprise, and they rallied behind the students, according to Willard Miller, one of the Nelson crew.
We had an election. The kids, Bob, he got a petition. The kids was aimed to all leave. Well, they had to leave. And the kids, everybody went down there and voted for them to stay. They wanted them to stay. Because we didn't want them to leave. They was helping us, so people helping us, we sure ain't going to run them out of the country. That wouldn't be nonsense.
I think in Decoy they have begun to realize themselves as a community. Teen Corps, when it came in, and probably myself as much as anyone else, the existence was there. The feeling was there of wanting to become a community. The year before, they had seen a building go up. They had seen themselves work as a community, and now they wanted to make decisions as a community. Now, if that is causing a rift, that they want to become a community, then it is a rift. But I think it's a rift of the community and Mr. Duff. And Mr. Duff, who has always been the father of that community, to me, it's just kind of a family problem.
In Rock Fork, the building's walls have risen since the Teen Corps first started working 6 weeks earlier. The community has continued to work on this project since the group left. The people are busy making plans for next year's Teen Corps. The road going into the hollow needs repair, and a new road is needed to shorten the distance children walk to school. The Teen Corps plans to return to Decoy next year, too, to continue work on the road and on the church they started this year. The Handshoe Community Center, much smaller than the one at Rock Fork, is almost completed except for the roof and floor. The Nelson men have worked on the building for a couple of weeks. The Handshoe group has made a lot of friends here, so many they hate to go home. George White was asked what kind of support the group got from the local people.
The building has been mostly by ourselves, and that's not the community's fault. We don't actually have enough equipment so that the community could pitch in even if they wanted to. The Nelson men have come out and helped us quite a bit, and we never could have gotten as far as we are without them. But the people around here have helped us, not so much in the construction line of the thing, but they've helped us by giving us food and moral support. I think it's a good program, especially for an area like this where jobs are hard to find. The people around here are real willing to work. It's just that there really aren't any jobs around to give them when they do want to work, especially if they're going to live back in a holler like this one.
If the Nelson men couldn't find employment here, it would mean going north for most of them. A project in this hollow means a chance to stay longer for Kirby Beverly, although the prospects of a regular job off the federal program are slim.
Yeah, it's helped us about getting work close home. Sure has. We've been expecting them to take us to the other side of the county, probably, or anywhere except on this creek. And this job coming in, why, it has held us in here a while longer anyway, especially as long as this lasted here. We don't know what'll happen after that.
George White and other Teen Corps volunteers negotiated sales of quilts while they were there. One of the neighbor's ladies' pastimes is making quilts to sell.
Which one's your favorite one?
What's yours? That's pretty.
The best one?
It's added income in this area for the people on welfare or limited incomes. George bought 2 quilts for his mother. The Smiths is one family that has helped his group the most on the community center.
People I help out there.
Oh, you got some nice quilts here.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith and their 5 children and Mr. Smith's mother, Polly, live in this rough wood house without running water. Their living conditions are not the only thing that make their background different from George's.
How long does it last? Well, the people around here are a lot more friendly than the people at home. Around here, you can walk up on somebody's front porch and just say hi, and they'll sit you down, they'll give you a good time, and they'll talk to you. And they're just overly friendly. And at home, if you don't know all the people on your own block, so you'd never think of walking up on a stranger's front porch and saying hi.
The days spent in Handshoe Hollow and the other locations have been hot, sometimes 95 or 96 in the shade. A dip in the swimming hole after work is not only refreshing, but it's the only place to take a bath. During the last part of their stay, dog days set in, and washing up was moved to the schoolhouse well, half a mile down the road.
What? You got a quarter made down there.
Tonight, after weeks of living on Spam, cornbread, soups, and other concoctions, the group finally gets a decent meal at the Handshoes, the namesakes of the community. Frankie and Will Handshoe and the other neighbors have donated enough food for all 35. Local dishes like turtle and Chucky beans are the most popular items, and the kids went at it like they haven't eaten in 6 months. This wasn't the only spread the neighbors put out for the Teen Corps either. After 6 weeks of working and planning projects together, it's like one big family. Before they left, the Handshoes asked for the same group back next year, exactly the same group. They didn't want any strangers. The Teen Corps plans to come back next year and the year after. Next year, projects will concentrate on roads and on getting industry into the area, two of the greatest needs. Already, the Teen Corps has requested a federal grant to study the possibility of a furniture factory. This year, the Teen Corps feels has been a success. It has been one step in binding people together in order to demand better service. Bob Benedict talked about the hardest part of getting these people to work as a community.
The belief that it isn't futile, the belief that this isn't simply another promise, the belief that we are going to come back, that we are going to do what we're going to say. And the easiest thing to do is once a building goes up, block upon block upon block, road mile upon mile, school, was the school was painted and so on. Material things mean a lot to these people. When they see that you mean what you say, you have friends for life.
The Teen Corps will return, and to even more communities next year. The prospects of their making any big dent in Appalachia's problems may not be great, their critics would say, but they believe they can be an influence, if only as an example. But there is little doubt this group will continue to try, to show others what must be done to help, even in a remote part of the country. One song became their theme during the 6-week stay, and it tells their story. Today's young people are great. At least I think so. And the Twin City Federal folks think so too. Many of today's young people are serious, and they're concerned, and they want to be involved in improving the quality of life in our country. In Handshoe Hollow, we have an example of the good work they can do. The Twin City Federal folks are proud to sponsor this film report. They're proud to be associated with such a fine group of young people. From the largest savings institution in our part of the country, congratulations on the success of a most worthwhile project, Handshoe Hollow.
And it might begin to meet you, oh, to give a damn about your fellow man. And it might begin to reach you, oh, we give a damn about our fellow man.
Handshoe Hollow was presented on WCCO television by Twin City Federal, largest savings institution in our wonderful part of the country.
It might you.